Welcome to COVID Stories, a digital memoir from the pandemic. People from across the region and the world will share their stories here, from the hilarious to the heartbreaking ways we're coping in isolation. COVID Stories, where first-person arts keeps you company. In today's installment, we're hearing about how the pandemic is impacting people's careers and the rent.
As I sit here in the middle of my fourth week of quarantine, I've been taking stock about how I'm faring socially during this pandemic. I live with two other roommates, and each of them is currently working from home because they hold desk jobs that can be performed remotely. I was laid off because I work for an online record store that relies heavily on shipping and receiving. And believe it or not, we are not an essential business. The first week of my unemployment, I was indifferent. Quite honestly, because I don't like my job. It's not what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I don't consider it a career option. I like the people I worked with and enjoy interacting with them every day, but the work itself wasn't fulfilling. I moved to NYC a year and a half ago, and I know this is a Philly thing. I get it. I also was born and raised in Philly, so there's that. And I took this job because I needed to pay the rent. And I told myself I wouldn't be there more than 6 months because I came here to become a full-time writer. It didn't matter what kind of writing, creative, finance, grant. I just wanted to write. It's the only thing that when I'm doing it, I'm happy. 6 months go by and nothing. I say, okay, I'll give it another 6. Suddenly, it is now a year and a half later, and I was still employed there until COVID-19 hit, this virus. And they laid me off at the beginning of March, and I'm taking it as a sign. I'm not angry that I lost my job. I'm relieved, happy even that I did. I'm not going back when this all settles down. Watching my two roommates work their desk jobs from home excitedly has inspired me more than anything. And socially, I've been fine. I liked my coworkers, but unfulfilling work causes more of a hole for me than social distancing. And I've put out numerous applications. I've gone back to a screenplay that I shelved months ago. I started reviewing movies on an app called Letterboxd, and COVID has forced us all to take a hard look at ourselves. What's important to me? Where do I see myself when this passes? How can I improve upon myself now? And if anything, I feel calmer, happier, and hopeful. I've gotten more in touch with those closest to me, and I've found those social interactions more necessary than that of the work jargon that I spoke before. I plan on coming out of this a refreshed and rested individual, ready to take on the next challenge. And I know COVID isn't great. I get that. I get using it as like a weird thing of like, oh, I'm taking it as a sign when it's a lot of terrible stuff is going on. It's not great. I totally get that. But there is totally a silver lining to be found here. And I'm planning on walking that line until we're out of this. So stay safe and remember, this will pass.
I feel like I'm living in Groundhog's Day. This is the second time that I've been at home this year. In June, I had a baby. So in June, I started on my journey of 12 weeks of maternity leave. This was no surprise to me. I was a toddler teacher, so I was used to the routine and changing diapers, drying tears, tackling nap time. But it was different because this little girl was mine and she wasn't going home at night. But I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to fast forward through those 2 a.m. feedings and me trying to figure out why she's trying to pull and eat my hair and trying to figure out my work-life balance. And I'm going to hit that remote 9 months later. 9 months later, I'm back in the toddler room, and I'm wondering if I'm going to get pink eye or the flu or the stomach bug. Now we add COVID-19 to the mix. Trying to figure out more times to wash our hands, but before I can, my director calls and she tells me we're closed. We're closed for 2 weeks, maybe more. Then the governor backs it up with Delaware County is on lockdown. So we are to stay at home. We are to stay safe. Work canceled, social events canceled. All right, we got this. This is my second time home with a baby, being told not to go outside because of germs. All right, so I'm used to finding fun where I can because of this. So we are finding Facebook Live and having dance parties in our living room. And then I wanted to take Lucy on this virtual field trip on a farm, and I find this Blippi video. Well, I didn't know what rabbit hole it would cause on YouTube finding this Blippi video. We have seen so many Blippi videos that I see the blue and orange in my sleep, and I hear the theme song all day. Another thing we're doing for fun is children's books. I've become obsessed with children's books. I think it's because I'm missing my toddlers and they're just boiling out of my brain at this point. So I'm recording them every day and sharing them. Something really cool has happened though, because a virtual story time has come about, and we're just this ragtag group of toddler teachers just filling the void from not doing morning meeting. It's something I look forward to every day, and it's something Lucy gets to giggle and babble at her teachers. I've also discovered the porch. I've been spending a lot of time on the porch. I stare at it, sit on it. We play on it, we draw on it with sidewalk chalk, then we go in and we do it again. I find myself dreaming about the porch and redoing the porch and looking up porch furniture on Lowe's and Facebook Marketplace. Only the comfiest for my beloved porch. The final thing we're doing is we discovered Mommy and Me fitness videos. But this is actually turned into Family and Me fitness videos, and they're hilarious because you're trying to take this little baby and maneuver her to whatever the exercise is. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. This is our new normal. This is our Groundhog's Day. This is what we do every day. So we're learning to laugh when it's funny, make memories when we can, try not to trip over the occasional rogue chair, and do it again tomorrow.
Earlier this year, I had a bunch of acting jobs lined up, and all of them got set back when COVID-19 popped up. Except one theater job, which was the Zoo Story, but we didn't even perform in front of a live audience. We just live streamed it. And we all know like it's a different energy with a crowd and a camera in your face, but we pulled through. The people that paid to watch it watched it. So, but I just have to believe that despite all the setbacks, when all this ends, it'll be for the better. Everyone will realize what they took for granted, which was social interactions. We'll all be nicer to each other. We'll all be kinder to each other. So yeah, hopefully we'll all do our part. Stay inside, stay safe, stay clean.
I think for myself personally, a lot of the self-quarantine is relatively habitual for those of us in the disability community like myself. I use a wheelchair. I'm a quadriplegic. We've had some really rough winters where we've had to stay inside for 3, 4, 5 days at a time, waiting for the snow to melt or roads to clear up. But this is new, these long stretches of time. So I'm having to adjust to that. But something interesting happened to me yesterday. I was going about my morning routine with my caregiver, who helps get me up and dressed and usually out the door, but not lately. I have a roommate that's a nursing candidate, nursing PhD candidate at Villanova University, so it's really convenient that I don't have to rely on a lot of personal care attendants out there that are really risking their lives on a daily basis to serve people with disabilities through the COVID-19 outbreak. So we're sitting eating our breakfast and it's around 10 o'clock and I hear my door open and a few people shuffle in, and I think to myself, there's not that many people who actually have a key to my apartment except immediate family. And then it dawns on me that it's my housekeeper that comes every 2 to 3 weeks with his entire cleaning crew. And they just go right to it. They come right into the room, they plug in vacuums, they start dusting, whatever. I step out into the hall, my roommate and I look at each other and we're like, what's going on? Why is he here? I just assumed they wouldn't have come. And so I have to text a couple people, get some feedback from others, like, is this right? Should housekeepers just be showing up willy-nilly? This is a new situation that requires a little bit more precautions. And the fact that I wasn't given any before I had 4 people tracing into my home amidst a major outbreak of a virus. So I go back inside, I compose my thoughts, and I explain to my housekeeping staff, like, listen, I really appreciate that you guys coming, but I just assumed you weren't. This is a new situation that we're all not prepared for, but I have to be a bad guy and say, I'd please like you to leave. I don't know where you were before you came here. It's 2-3 hours into the morning. I don't know what precautions that you're taking as a staff. And frankly, I know some of you are high risk that are cancer survivors. I myself, being a quadriplegic with, compromised immune system at times, like, this is not right. And you need to think about the other clients that you're serving, like, as you go about your day to day and the rest of your day. And it was a hard conversation to have with someone that I care deeply about, that I've been working with and employing for, gosh, I want to say like 8 or 9 years now. He thanked me and apologized, and I think it sort of hit him and his crew in a way that they hadn't considered. Yes, they are a cleaning crew, but they are also sort of could be a walking germ factory as a group of 5 people going in and out of one place, and that little droplet that happens to land on a coat jacket. So it was hard, and I'm glad I did it. I hope I won't have to do it again for other various people. But that was a tough wake-up call, I think, and understanding that we're in a different place right now. Not to mention the fact that I was really glad I could grab my roommate and dig out some of those cleaning products that I had to wipe down everything that had just been wiping down 10 minutes before. So it put us to cleaning action, and probably the best cleaning that I've done in quite some time. So that's my diary for today or tomorrow. Take care and be safe out there.
Well, work as a chef in Philadelphia and work a lot, 3 different jobs in Philly. 2 of them are done. One of them I'm still doing takeout. Financially, it's going to be a burden, and I guess I'm hoping that the government comes in and gives us a little help financially, and maybe suspending mortgages and things like that would help out considerably. Not really working from home, other than I'm cooking more at home. I think a lot of chefs will tell you that the duality of my life is that on one hand, I will be painstakingly putting caviar on top of oysters, and then the next minute I'll be home microwaving popcorn for dinner. So that's kind of how it works if you're a chef. So now I'm doing a little more cooking at home, which is good. For my state of being. It's not necessarily good for my girth because cooking some mac and cheese and things like that. So we'll see. I'm not particularly angry or scared. It's definitely something different and new. I'm used to being home as much. I work 70-hour weeks, and now all of a sudden I'm home all the time, and all these things that I said I wanted to do because I didn't have time. Turns out that wasn't the problem, because I'm still not doing them. I'm on Facebook and watching Netflix and things like that. But hopefully, if this goes on longer, I'll be a little more productive. Anyway, that's it from Delco. Hope everyone's doing well. Have a good couple weeks.
During this COVID-19 crisis and the lockdown, I think, like everybody else, my biggest concern is just my bills. So I've been trying to do my best to call, everybody and try to see if I can, reduce my payments or, defer payments or, try and just cut services that I no longer feel like I need right now. So the biggie, of course, is rent. So I figured, let me try and call them, see what I can do. So I called the front office. I live in an apartment complex, and I called the front office, and I got in contact with, I'm not going to use her real name, Sarah. That's what we'll call Sarah. And Sarah and we have history. I've lived here for 4 years, and every time I call, she's like, she's like robotic. Like, she shows no emotions for anything, because if you're late here, they'll tack on such heavy fees. So one time I had to call her maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, hey, there might be a possibility I might be 3 days late. She was like, I was like, is there any chance that maybe you guys can give me a 3-day extension? And right away, her thing is always like, our policy does not allow for that. I'll be at the pool with my family, and I'll have a wristband, I'll bring a friend, and she'd be like, our policy does not allow for that. He needs to get his own pass. I'm like, yo, okay, fine. It's always, our policy does not allow for that. So I called, and I called the front office, and I got Sarah, and I was like, all right, dang it. Let me try to explain to Sarah. I mean, she's got to know what's going on. She's got to be watching the news. And I was like, hey, Sarah, my partner has completely lost her job. I've been reduced at work. I feel like you guys are going to get these kinds of calls frequently. Is there any chance that you guys would reduce the payments now and maybe tack those payments on rents down the road when things would be better? And right away, her thing was, our policy does not allow for that. I know, Sarah, your policy doesn't usually allow for that, but this is unusual circumstances. So can we just maybe find something else we can do? And, she was like, all right, listen, our policy does not allow for that. You can call the mortgage company, but that is all I can tell you. So she hung up, and I was mad, and I was like, policy does not allow for that. She just acted like she didn't care about my situation. So I decided to write her an email, and I decided to just, I was like, I gotta write something. I want to just let her know exactly how I feel. So I wrote this email. I want to read it to you guys, and I'm gonna let you know what you think. Hello, Sarah. It's me, Che, from apartment A12. We spoke about me not being able to pay rent because of the global pandemic, and you basically told me not my problem. Basically. I want to tell you that you're amazing at your job. I've lived here for 4 years, and every time I contact you with a worry, you are direct and cold. You don't show any emotions towards my situation. How could you? If you cared about my sob story, then you'd have to care about the next bozo story. Your loyalty lies with your company. I hope they see that and compensate you accordingly. I just wanted to express this to you. Peace and love, Che. I love the peace and love. I didn't send it. I wanted to give it at least a day. I always tell myself, if I'm mad about something, I'm going to give it a day, see how it goes. And I did. I let it breathe. And then 3 hours later, she called me, Sarah, and said that she had spoken to corporate and that she had really explained to them that I was I had no history of lapsing on rent and I was never making any trouble. So they are willing to work with me while this time is happening. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't send the email. And that's when I realized, like, I'm glad that I do that. That if I get upset, I give it at least a day to kind of just breathe, because you never know what the outcome could be. I could have made it worse if I sent that email. Then I would look like a jerk, and then they wouldn't have wanted to work with me. So I'm glad that I took that time. So I know right now, with everything going on and everything's so uncertain, you want to make everything about yourself and what your worries are and just lash out at anybody who's near you. But let's not do that. Let's try and just like take a breath, take a moment. I know it's hard to walk away from a situation when you're in the same house, but if you can go to different corners, that's at least enough to take a little bit of a breather and then come back and try and work things out. So I'm glad I didn't send the email, and I'm glad that Sarah helped me out to try and stay here. So hope you all are safe out there.
We hope you enjoyed these stories. Tell us about your favorite one in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe to our channel to learn about upcoming installments from First Person Arts' COVID stories. But more importantly, we want to hear from you. We'll post how you can share your story in the notes below. Whatever you're feeling or thinking during this time, we want you to know that you're not alone, and somehow we'll get through this together. Tell us your story and we'll share it across the country. Maybe somebody listening feels the same way you do. Join us for the next installment of COVID Stories on Tuesday, April 21st. In the meantime, you can check out First Person Arts' social media on Tuesday, April 14th for COVID Sparks. Stories from the COVID Story Bank to spark your imagination and show you just how easy it is to share your own stories. At First Person Arts, we believe that everyone has a story to tell and that sharing our stories connects us with each other and the world. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay well. This installment was produced and edited with original music by Rodney Wittenberg and Melody Vision. The First Person Arts COVID Stories team includes Tanisha Ford, Dr. Neil Bardhan, Danielle Marino, Samantha Heth, and Leo Otting. Thank you so much to our storytellers and for all of you out there listening. I'm your host, Jamie J. Join us next time for another installment of COVID Stories, where First Person Arts keeps you company.